I would like to share something with you. If you listen, hear, and try to understand what I'm about to share with you, it will change your understanding of the world in a profound way. I am sharing this with you at what I know to be considerable personal risk. Very powerful people will not want you to see this, and they will likely be willing to do almost anything to stop it, up to and including ending my life. I firmly believe that they will want this video off the web as quickly as possible. However, I cannot allow the powerful messaging such as this, or the indirect threats such as this.
Terence Critchard didn't have a weapon, and it appears he was cooperating with officers.
He's got his hands slipped there for her now.
He was killed anyway.
Both of which sends the message that they can do whatever they want to you, and you cannot do a thing about it. Either way, my life depends on this truth. You see, the stories like the death of Bob Marley, whether real or fictional, are the types of psychological warfare that have become the new terror weapons against entire populations. Born in the minds of evil men hell-bent on controlling entire populations, enabled inside the pages of print media and online in the pages of hundreds of millions of websites, solidified on every television screen in America. You cannot escape their reach. Do you believe for 1 minute that the CIA could not stop a 79-year-old man on his deathbed from revealing secrets that the CIA did not want published? If the story did not suit their purpose, do you think for a second that they would not have publicly denounced it as untrue? We all see the images and read these stories of uncharged, unarmed deaths of innocent civilians. We all see the one-sided arrests, and we remember. Journalists remember. Activists remember. We all receive the message. If you step out of line, this is what we can and will do to you. This is not freedom. Hang on a minute. There, that's better. I'm not an activist. I am one man, a retired military father, brother, a son, colleague, a friend, and a patriot. I cannot allow any threats, real or veiled, to pressure me into allowing the further denial of my basic human rights and the rights to freely share my concerns for actions taken by my government against me, rights shared by all Americans, denied to me simply because they can. The information I will share is the truth. It is shocking, and it will challenge your view of the world in which we live. This is the truth spoken in a public forum, one of the most dangerous things in American society today. I cannot, as an American, allow veiled threats such as these of the so-called CIA agent on his deathbed, not the threat of their use of unchecked deadly force or their abuse of power, hiding behind the legal shields afforded them by the sacred emblems of the United States, to deter me from speaking the truth. The truth is all I have. I speak out in the hopes of deterring them from taking my life, a true and ever-present danger I face every day. You have two choices at this point, metaphorically, of course. You can take the blue pill, signified by watching this video, which will allow you to gain an understanding of my life and, more importantly, the hidden world that is your own, a world hiding in plain sight. Or choose the red pill, which means that you will either turn off this video before it's finished, or you will shut out its facts because you have predetermined that it does not fit into your current understanding of the world. You must choose. Nothing I can say, especially at this point, will change that decision. Moreover, in watching this video, I realize that I cannot teach you anything. In fact, no one can. All I will try to do is provide you with information, and with it, an opportunity for this information to be received as communications. The notable journalist Sidney J. Harris. He once described the communication process this way. The two words information and communication are often used interchangeably, but they signify quite different things. Information is given out. Communication is getting through. Back to the blue pill. It only signifies listening, hearing, and accepting the information I will provide. Notice that I did not say believing. I'm not asking you to believe anything I will present, at least not at this initial form, although I firmly believe that based on my own research, everything presented here is factual. I ask you to consider the entirety of the information and resist the urge that will be presented by some to attack a single fact. Consider the preponderance of the evidence. This is also my challenge to you to conduct your own research, to become familiar with the facts that I will present and find additional facts that support what I say, and examine information of those who oppose my views as well, so that you can develop the most informed opinion possible about these truly monumental and deeply disturbing issues, what they have done to me, and what this means to all of humanity. These are advanced technology programs designed to remotely read the thoughts, physiology, and neurological status of human subjects in real time, 24/7, 365 days a year. Remember that this is not just about me. I will present a logical argument for why they are testing this technology and show you solid evidence that suggests that the tests performed on me and others today will likely be used on every American and anyone, anywhere in the very near future. Before we start, let's clarify a few more points. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, although some will immediately label me as such. I will talk about that a little more later. I'm not mentally ill or a delusional tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy nut, as some will undoubtedly say. Nor am I impaired in my ability to reason or to evaluate the social and intellectual complexities of everyday life. I love my country, and I do not hate my government, and consider myself a patriot. In fact, most who know me, if they are being honest, would tell you that I've been that way my entire adult life. Besides, these are not acts of our government. They are acts of individuals who hide behind the authority vested in them by the offices of our government. These are acts of men and women who drape themselves in the flag to get your support, not the actions of an office and not the actions of a country. I am not violent. In fact, I detest violence against anyone where the act is outside of voluntary competitive sports such as football, boxing, and MMA sports, for example. I will not harm myself or anyone else. This is important, especially when a person looks like me is caught up in this unimaginable circumstance, and the perpetrators are individuals with enormous power and influence. Recent history in America presents solid evidence that the color of my skin alone is reason for me to be concerned for my safety if confronted by public officials, especially those actors in the United States who have deadly force authority. For me, this is an ever-present danger that I accept as one of the things that I cannot change and I cannot control. I would never use anything but the truth to make my case. For most of you, this information will be inconceivable. I get that. For others, this information will challenge your most strongly held beliefs about what our country's managing organizations are capable of doing to citizens who call themselves Americans. In the final analysis, facts are what they are, and the truth is the truth, even when we refuse to believe it. Simply put, at some point in a child's life, they must learn that Santa and the Tooth Fairy are not who we once believed that they were. Anger, focus on the messenger, and denial by the receiver will not change the facts. Sometimes people lie to us, and they want us to believe that they lied to us for our own good. This has become the mainstay of many inside the United States government. The problem is, after so many lies from our government, how can any of us know when they're telling the truth? So, what does all this mean? In the difficult years leading up to this point in my life, I had experienced a great deal, quite frankly, that I could not have possibly imagined before these insidious programs began. Yet, none of the previous shocking revelations could have prepared me for the most heinous of all revelations, that I am an involuntary human test subject, a victim of non-consensual human experimentation programs. Recently, testing has focused on the area of mind control through a process called remote neural monitoring. Just saying the words involuntary test subject still shakes me to the core. As one of their test subjects, treated like a laboratory animal for medical and psychological testing over a period that perhaps spans my entire lifetime. Images of cruel treatment experienced by humankind over the ages seem somewhat tame in comparison, because psychological tortures are scars that take longer to heal. The goal of those who attack us appears to be to torture us until we make a mistake that can be twisted into some false allegations, or until the victim feels that their personal safety is in immediate danger and takes action to protect themselves, or until the perpetrator perceives us as a threat to exposing their program, where they remove us from society based on false diagnosis of mental illness, or incarcerate us based on elaborate entrapment schemes. In some cases, their actions result in the death of the victim in the form of suicide. And sometimes the victim is suicided, meaning the victim's life ends in a way that they make it look like a suicide. At this point, I must state again, unequivocally, that I would not and will not harm myself or anyone else. That declaration is 100% true and important. Please remember it. Before we start, let me tell you a little about me, the person. At the time of this video production, I am 58 years old. I was born Kenneth Wendell Peartree, spelled like this. Some call me Ken, and back in North Carolina, Kenny. I am the son of an uneducated farmer, a sharecropper, from a small rural settlement in eastern North Carolina called Terracea, although my birth record shows Washington, North Carolina, because I was born in the hospital there, the only child in my family to be born in the hospital. I was born free and sovereign, and I am free and sovereign today. I had what I viewed as a normal childhood. Growing up in the South, I played sports, hunted, and fished. It was a simple life. Even as a child, I had an insatiable curiosity for the world around me. I was one of those kids who would always tear things apart to see how they work. Most of the time, I could get them back together. Most of the time. I was very fascinated with how things worked. Anything interested me. Still, I was exceedingly naive, even for a black child in the South with little or no understanding of this incredibly vast and complicated world around us. Moreover, I consider myself as part of the crossover generation, old enough to recall the signs, whites only, and to attend a segregated school until third grade, but fortunate enough to have witnessed the vast changes in American society for some in terms of race relations, even though those changes are uneven. Shortly after graduating from high school, I joined the United States Air Force, where I served in tours of duties in Idaho and Maine in the United States, as well as overseas in Spain and the Philippines, and 2 tours of duties each in England and South Korea. I have one known child, Tanya, who is married with a beautiful family of her own. My relationship with her, I now understand, has also been tragically entangled in this twisted world of manipulated events. In the military, my chosen career field was petroleum logistics, where I worked in all facets of the profession, from aircraft refueling to quality control, operations management, and finally, senior division enlisted manager in charge of nearly 60 personnel with signatory custodial control of assets valued at $30 million that provided aviation and ground fuel, as well as cryogenics liquid support valued at $19 million per year. My 25-plus year military career culminated in the promotion to the second highest enlisted grade of E8, which is called Senior Master Sergeant in the Air Force, although that was not completely in a straight line. More on that later. I earned a Bachelor's of Science degree in Business Management from Colorado Technical University and an Associate's of Science degree in Logistics from the Community College of the Air Force. After retiring from active duty in July 2004, I was offered a position as a construction superintendent for an environmental management company based outside of Atlanta, Georgia. I was assigned to the San Antonio, Texas office. I was promoted to project manager, where my success, as it turns out by design, caused more problems than benefits. I will get into that later as well. I was subsequently hired by an environmental management firm from San Francisco, California, and was assigned to their Kaiserslautern, Germany office, where I worked as a construction manager. The formalized field in each case was a relatively specialized sector: repair, restoration, and upgrades to aviation and ground fuel storage and distribution systems. Working primarily with aircraft systems, I managed, sometimes having signatory responsibility called responsible officer, for multi-million-dollar government construction contracts. I also earned a license as a real estate sales professional in the state of Florida, where I worked as a realtor for a couple of years between the 2 previously mentioned private sector jobs. I also volunteered in local charities like Paint Your Heart Out Tampa and helped to raise money for Big Brother and Big Sister through the fundraising activities in my military unit. I volunteered for the American Red Cross, an organization that I hold in very high regard. The Red Cross stepped in and assisted me with an interest-free loan when I needed money to go home early in my career after I lost my beloved grandfather. Since that time, I have donated to them nearly every year for a couple of decades as a payroll deduction through the combined federal campaign. In Europe and in the United States, I also helped to raise money for the Red Cross and took 4 weeks off from work with my employer's support to volunteer full-time for the Red Cross to help victims of Hurricane Katrina evacuated to Florida, and later in the same year on the ground in South Florida in support of victims of Hurricane Wilma. The Red Cross did right by these victims, as they did by me decades before, and I was honored to be able to help the Red Cross serve our nations from the front lines in communities hardest hit during this difficult year in our nation's history. I enjoyed my chosen profession. Many of us call POL, which stands for Petroleum, Oil, and Lubricants. The most significant of these professions, the Aviation and Fuel Systems Construction Management career, was a job that I truly loved because it encompassed everything that I love to do. Aviation fuel was my life. It has been all that I have known professionally since high school. The construction management aspect of this profession was perfect for me because I love to build things, to create, to deliver an outstanding product. What began as a challenging but lucrative six-figure professional career was transformed into a nightmare that was just the start of things to come. Now, in order to go forward, I have to take you back first, back to when I was born. Not my physical birth, but when I was born in terms of enlightenment, which occurred on 29 September 2015. That is the day when I turned a knob and opened a door to a world that was completely unimaginable to me at the time, and one that has become even more horrifying with each passing week of discovery. On that day, reeling from a roller coaster of strange events and seemingly impossible coincidences, I set out to understand what and who was indeed behind all of these strange events. I walked into a coffee shop around 8 or 9 p.m. and began to scour the internet for clues, anything that would help me to better understand the bizarre set of circumstances that had completely destroyed the world that I knew. I had no idea what I was looking for. However, by this point, I had completed my careful process of elimination, a deliberate process designed to exclude our government's involvement. Instead of eliminating federal agencies, to my dismay, my research had confirmed beyond any doubt the sum of my greatest fears, that all that had happened to me was a direct result of government involvement. Yet, I still needed to know why they were doing all these bizarre things to me. Nothing added up. I was sure that I had not done anything wrong, even though by now they had successfully deceived me into believing that my understanding of what happened on 9/11 was at the heart of my problems. However, I was certain by this point that this reason alone could not be behind everything. It didn't add up, and I needed answers. The situation, the bizarre coincidences, were far too sophisticated, perfectly synchronized, and too completely incorporated into all sectors of society that I was convinced that I could not have been the only one. I had been tortured and harassed in 6 countries by this point. The perpetrators acted with complete impunity across international borders, across federal agencies. And no matter who I reached out to for assistance, none would provide a meaningful response to my requests. This, in my opinion, was too big to be designed just for me. You see, I'm a firm believer that nearly everything, with few exceptions, is logical. If a set of events initiated by humans do not form a logical conclusion, then it is my view that we're working with less than perfect information. I set out to find the information that was missing. It was around 8 or 9 hours later, after searching perhaps hundreds of websites, that I stumbled onto a video of this man talking about targeted individuals.
Hello friends. The U.S. intelligence agencies, in conjunction with DARPA and Los Alamos National Laboratory, have set up a counterinsurgency war that is taking place on a worldwide basis, aimed at potential enemies such as political activists and whistleblowers. These targets are generally people with a very high IQ who are capable of influencing the people around them.
With a little more research into this situation, I quickly discovered that many others had experienced the same or similar problems and bizarre events as I had. The hours and minutes that followed were truly an awakening that changed my understanding of the world that I thought I knew. Although this was just an introduction, at last, from that point forward, I had begun to understand. The information made the pieces start to fall into logical order very quickly. Yet I had no idea how big the problem actually was until much later. I had only seen the tip of the iceberg. Since that time, I have learned that I am an unwitting participant in the most elaborate open secret in modern history, perhaps ever. We humans have entered a time in our existence where technology, protected under the blanket of official government secrets, threatened to destroy the world as we know it. I have come to understand the myriad of dots that connect literally every facet of everyday life to the premise that humans can intercept the thoughts of other humans. Everything these programs do seem to involve these primary objectives: gain complete control and predictability of human behavior and know everything about anyone. Through the willing or unwitting participation of mass media, this operation intends to do all of this with our passive agreement, while we, Americans, armed with a distorted, even misguided understanding of what this technology can do, stand idly by as law after law is passed to cement the systems into place. Make no mistake, remote neural monitoring, RNM, is the most invasive technological weapon ever devised by humankind. RNM is fully operational today. If you made it this far, thank you. Now, let's get started. What I will talk about. As we go through this information, please try to think in the mode of how you would imagine a prosecutor would approach a decision to prosecute illegal activity prior to launching a criminal indictment. The prosecutor would not have to solve the case at the probable cause hearing. He simply needs to show that the preponderance of evidence point to the fact that a crime was committed and that the evidence point to a particular individual or group. In this video, I will make my probable cause argument, and I strongly believe that when taken in its entirety, the evidence is undeniable. I will take you into the history of mind control systems, walk you through the historical phases of mind control research and development, from artichoke to MK Ultra, then to more recent research into methods of influencing the way we perceive what is true and believable in mass society. I will take you through what I see as the 5 phases of control that encompass remote neural monitoring operations, from selecting the victim to removing the victim from the public, even from existence. I will explain how these insidious programs have been hiding in plain sight for the last 5 decades or more. I will show you how this program has operated with an air of impunity that could only be displayed if the perpetrators believe that there was zero chance that they would be held accountable for their crimes. Finally, I will take you through the hell that is my life, from whistleblower to isolated victim, suffering in virtual silence, devoid of assistance from anyone, including family members. I realize and accept that these revelations will challenge the belief systems of some, yet they will confirm the previous beliefs of others. The most important thing to keep in mind as we move forward is one word: facts. I will present the facts, and in some cases I will tell you how I believe these facts affect you and me. I encourage you to research them for yourselves. I recognize and expect that paid attack dogs will find reasons to cast doubt on these facts. unlimited resources and our tax dollars make it easy to find experts for hire who will say whatever fits the official narrative. Yet I am certain that the preponderance of evidence will be undeniable. The truth can be clouded, but it cannot be changed. With all that in mind, let's dive into the murky world of mind control. The earliest mind control programs that most of us are familiar with are from the previously top secret MK-Ultra and Project Monarch files. Subsequent declassified documents allege that MK-Ultra programs